leadership transformation. Welcome to another segment of Women Rights with Atno Media, communicating impact for climate, nature, people, and development. We celebrate the impact that women trailblazers are having around the world. Listen to their stories and get inspired to create a just, equitable, and inclusive world where we all desire to be. And joining me today is none other than Salome, who is doing an amazing work in the space of climate, women, human rights defenders, and just name it, justice across Africa. Hello, Salome.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Nice to have you on our program.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, maybe you quickly introduce yourself to us. Who is Salome, what she does, and your works?
Okay, my name is Salome Nduta. I'm the founder and executive director of the Women Human Rights Defenders Hub, but I also coordinate work for Oil Watch Africa, and this is a network of communities and organizations that are working to bring out the issues of fossil fuel within their communities and the impact this is having on them.
Wow, amazing. I can't wait to learn more with you. And Salome, women rights, human defenders. It's a big one. I've known about human rights, which is very general, but it's very rare to find a specific entity focusing on the role of women rights, human defenders. Could you talk to us a bit about that and how it came to be?
Okay. The Women Human Rights Defenders Hub is an organization that was thought through by women defenders in this country of Kenya, because they came to realize that the challenges that women defenders face are unique because of, one, their gender, but two, the work they do. And they tend to be targeted not just because they are defenders, but because they are women. And when we sat down, we said we need to have an organization that would look at human rights violations generally, but also try to engender the violations so that people can really get to understand that when you are a woman, you may be affected by a violation, but the impact it will have on you will be different because you are just a woman. Take for example, if there is a demonstration and we are all on the streets, we'll all be running away from police so that we are not clobbered. But for a woman, the main reason is not just being clobbered. It is the fact that if by chance you are arrested, then you have children who will be waiting for you to feed them. You will have maybe a husband who may not even understand why you are on the street. And instead of empathizing with you, you might end up being in trouble even back at home. So those were some of the challenges we thought we need to bring out, but also to appreciate that these women are doing a lot of amazing work. And just being able to balance between your family, your community work, and now extend it to advocacy. You can only be a magician to do that.
And thank God for Women Human Rights Defenders Hub in Kenya. And of course, for the time that you've been in the space, I wonder, you've talked about the journey, but I'm sure there's many challenges that you faced. Could you maybe walk us through that journey, how the challenges have been, and also how you've been able to navigate them?
I think the major challenge that women defenders face could be attributed to things like cultural practices. If we look at most of our cultures, a woman is meant to be a caregiver. So, and caregiving here extends to your family, so that when you start getting outside your family to community, then you are encroaching into spaces that you shouldn't be. And that becomes the first challenge that a woman defender faces. Because when you go out to the community, now here you interact with fellow women and men. And from a cultural point of view, men are supposed to be respected. So when you challenge anything at the community level, then you're being seen as a troublemaker. People don't associate your work with advocacy for change. They are first seeing you as a troublemaker because culture dictates you shouldn't be doing this. But beyond that, I mentioned the issues of our setup as a country, as a nation, where women are not expected to be in spaces where violence is likely to happen, because then the people who are supposed to protect are men. But now you are in a space where you shouldn't be, because you are not supposed to be a protector. You should be protected. So those are some of the challenges. But with time, also realizing that priorities and recognition of the work that women defenders are doing is not given visibility. Like, we will all be activists out in the field, but you will see that the people who are being given space to be seen, to be heard, their work to be profiled, most of them are men. And if I want to tie this to the actual work I'm doing on climate, I realized that the most people who are pushing climate agenda and most of those who are being seen are just men and the work they are doing. But look at the impact that climate change is having at the community level. It is that woman who has to go and fetch water so many kilometers away who suffers most. It is that woman who is struggling with kitchen farming to ensure that families get food, who is actually doing the work. But her story is missing. She is not even on the table where these conversations are happening. But what saddens me most is the fact that we have indigenous knowledge which has been passed on from parents to children. Who takes care of children? It's the woman. So as I'm taking care of my child, I'm also passing on knowledge, practices, and those indigenous knowledge are not on the table. They've been working for us, but are they being discussed? Who is discussing them? Is it that academician who is discussing them? Or it is this person who has practiced them, tried them, innovated new ways, but they miss out. So for me, just bringing that voice where it matters most is one thing that drives me. And actually, I'm glad you talk about climate change. You'll likely get to that. But before that, I need to ask you, you've already experienced seeing women being on the front lines of advocacy, the streets, political change and reforms. Also at the grassroots level, women who are really struggling to even put food on the table, who are working day in, day out, and really they get a lot of maybe mental breakdowns and issues of human well-being. How was the Women Human Rights Defenders Hub, and also you as a woman leader, try to take care of fellow women who are maybe going through some of these challenges, and how is the mental well-being aspect being factored in your movement? The hub has 4 pillars that we run. One pillar is on safety and security, and that pillar looks at safety and security holistically. So we are looking at the physical well-being, we are looking at the digital well-being of women defenders and the work they do, but the third aspect is the wellness and well-being. Because when you're in this space, you're targeted. You may lose information that relates to digital. You may be clobbered, that is your physical. But you might miss on the two. But as a defender who is pushing for rights, you realize, I've done a lot, but I can't tell the change. And that is what starts affecting you emotionally. Like, you get drained. You're repeating the same thing every day. You're talking to people who are not seeing. They're not even listening to the challenge you're facing. And that takes a toll on the person. So our wellness and well-being pillar, our approach is that we bring women defenders once a year together to do 2 things. Reflect on the year, the good and the bad. And we focus on the bad with the view of changing the emotions that women are having. Most of them are bitter. then you're expected to come to the next year and open the year with bitter emotions from last year. You can be assured you're not progressing. So that's one of the annual events that we do. But we also hold quarterly wellness clinics. And these are related to the work that you're doing. For example, the last 2 months we've been doing, from last year when we were celebrating 16 days of activism against GBV, we met women, survivors and victims who had gone through a lot. And because those victims and survivors are supported by women defenders that we work with, we are now embarking on organizing wellness sessions for those women who are working with victims. And the wellness sessions are intended to debrief, like just bring it out. We are in a new phase. How did it affect you? How do you think we can support you in this journey? But let me say that wellness and well-being, you can't address it in a one-off activity, because these are women who are in the field, so they are dealing with immediate traumas, traumas that have not been addressed. So like you can't say, since we've done a wellness clinic with you, you're sorted. Now let's take another group. So it's a cycle and you need to monitor constantly, because also people have personal issues that emerge. So this is a person who is dealing with emotions from the work, and then now tie that with emotions from family work, and just being able to separate the two and having measures for either, so that when you go back home, you don't carry your work emotions back home, because you're going to traumatize your children. You might even traumatize your husband if you're the woman defender. If you're the male defender, then you're taking your traumas to your wife. And remember, these are not activists. So we try to empower women, our women defenders, to be in a position to realize when emotions are work related, leave them at work. Emotions from home, don't bring them to work. Because if you're being clobbered at home and you meet a victim, you are not going to deal with that case in a way to help the victim. So if I'm that woman who is being clobbered at home, I'm that woman defender being clobbered at home, and I come across a case, I should be in a position just to step off and tell the client or this woman, let me get for you somebody else to deal with it.
So you also have to recognize your limits and conflict of interest.
Yes. Yeah.
That's important. I promise we'll get to the climate change question, but as you speak, you really promise some questions to my mind. And Salome, I know there are many more women who are actually suffering out there, and they'd want to engage with you and even participate in some of these wellness programs that you organize. If they really wanted to be a part of that, is there a process for them to be recruited, for them to sign up for the workshops, or how should they go about it?
I would ask women defenders who are listening to me to basically follow us on social media, because whenever we have a training coming up, we will post it there. But not just work from the hub. We collect opportunities for women defenders and just place it on our social. So that is one of the spaces where you can actually get information about us. But for now, we've prioritized 8 counties which we want to do the work in. And this is also based on a lesson that we learned. We don't want to walk into a community, do one training and move out, and then we say we are in county A. We tick it. No. So for the next 2.5 years, our strategic plan is a 5-year strategic plan. So the first 2.5 years, our focus is in 8 counties. And in those 8 counties, we work with individual women defenders, but we also work with networks of women defenders who are already together. If there's a woman who has a CBO of say 30 others, that organization we will work with. And the entry point, to avoid a situation where we are just working with the individuals, we are empowering that organization at the county level. So if you were to call me and say, I am in Bomet County, for example, I will tell you, yeah, very good, but please get in touch with Beacon of Hope in Bomet County, because that's our network which we are trying to strengthen so that women in that county can work together.
It also decentralizes the power. Yeah?
It decentralizes it, but most importantly for us, when it comes to safety and security, we are building collective safety nets so that when one of you is attacked, all of you voice the attack. All of you give visibility. Because if you wait for organizations in Nairobi to know about that one case in Bomet, that might take forever. But when you're working together, it becomes very easy to keep tab of who is doing what. When they are under attack, you come out and support them. But most importantly, when you make noise in numbers, the world listens. But when you make noise alone, you are ignored. People are likely to say, that's the mad woman or the mad man of this village.
And you get tired at times and give up.
Yes.
Wow. And the power of synergies, how through WHRD Hub, they're organizing with counties and county women groups that are really doing human rights defending works and engaging women at the grassroots to be able to take up charge and to come together in solidarity to bring about change, but also advocate for their own rights. This is Earth Now Media, communicating impact for climate, nature, people, and development.